What is going on, guys? Welcome to Sunday Bully Live. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about inbreeding. Inbreeding, is it good or is it bad? We've had a lot of conversations about inbreeding, and I have in the past spoken to many of you and tried to dissuade you from inbreeding. Part of the reason is I don't feel this community as a whole is kind of like where you need to be before you can start inbreeding, right? You've had many people, reach out to me or even come on the live in the past. I'm talking about way in the past. And, they became a breeder maybe within the last 6 months to a year, and they're already inbreeding. And it's like, did you at least do a genetic test? Did you run a koi? That sort of thing. And it's like, what's a koi? Well, why are you inbreeding if you don't even know what a koi is? Just keeping it real. Let's see, man. Let's see. We got Emilio Garcia in the house. I got Adam Fields. We got Miss Sally Ann, as always. Nothing but love, Sally. Thank you for joining us. We got Miss Beth B in the house. Coach Karen. What's going on? Maurice. We got Bama Elite. What is going on, Trayvon, man? What is going on, bro? Real quick, man. We got Roughline Bullies. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so one of my females went into labor yesterday around 4 p.m. I noticed greenish discharge on her bed. She was lying in. At the time, her body temp was 100.1. We had an ultrasound done at 7 p.m. to check on pups. Noticed one didn't have a heartbeat, but others did. How worried should we be? The vet said, call her when we notice blood or when. Rough lines, I've talked about this in so many videos and so many lives. It's kind of surprising that you haven't picked up on that. I mean, I've hit on that particular subject so many times. Green means go. Everybody's heard me say that before. Yeah, man, I would probably contact the vet. That's probably your best bet. Okay. Rottweiler saying, good morning, man. Rottweilers and Cane Corsos. That's what I'm talking about. Infamous. Good morning, Bully fam. What is going on, man? Sabueso morning. Good morning. So we're going to be talking about inbreeding, and not just with the American Bully. Don't get me wrong. We're going to hit up on the American Bully, but we're also going to be talking about other breeds and inbreeding, what it has done positively and also what it has done negatively. All right. Give me a second. Let me just give all my intros. Morning, Raul. Got my mom here. She knows a lot about breeding, horses in particular, but dogs too. Man, I love to hear her insight and her comments, Miss Sally. Appreciate you. By the way, Miss Sally, I got to hit you up. After the show, I'll be hitting you up. I got to ask you a question. Thank you. Ghost Dog Kennels. Good morning, Bully fam. Salute, Raul, and the chat. Number love, man. How's things, Raul? Zena. Hey, they're cooking. They're cooking. Second City Bullies morning. Hey, GCBK, what's good, Bully fam? Number love, man. Appreciate you. We got Kyle Holland letting you know, man. Let's get that knowledge. You know the drill. We're here to grow and learn and support our community. Please hit those likes and shares. Funny story. I did a live from the yard yesterday. We had, I don't know. I want to guess around 67 people on at the time. Had only 8 likes. All of a sudden, I asked for likes, and I looked this morning. We're like at over 40 of them. So it doesn't take nothing but a second to give us a like and a share, and it helps us out tremendously. Good morning, my females about a pop. We're on day 53 and super excited to see these future stars, man. Congrats on that. Sulema Santiago, morning. Sulema, let me know if you received your package that we sent out. If you need Nuvet plus code, here it is. Remember, checking out, you must type in the code to register 513237. She says, of course. Thank you, Miss Sally. Shea Tree, good morning, loves. Not but love, Shea Tree. There you go. D. Taylor, good morning, everyone. So listen, guys. Inbreeding. We're going to talk inbreeding. Well, look, inbreeding is nothing more than a tool that is used within breeding. So, for example, Outcross is another tool that is used within breeding. Line breeding is another tool within breeding. Inbreeding is not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. It's just a tool that we use. It's almost like a screwdriver, right? You have a Phillips screwdriver, is great when you need it. But if you have a Phillips screwdriver in your hands and you need a flathead, then you're pretty much screwed, right? So just 1 second. Let me give Roddy Regiment, nothing but love, Roddy. We got ourselves a new member.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
There you go, man. Nothing but love, Roddy. And we also got Daddy Smooth 4138.
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Nothing but love, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, inbreeding, guys, what's going to end up happening is you're going to get more breed type whenever you inbreed, if you know what you're doing, right? If you have two dogs, say, with a long muzzle and they lack, apple cheeks, they lack the underjaw, for example, and you're going to inbreed them, you cannot expect to be getting apple cheeks and underjaw because it's just not there. With that being said, I will tell you that inbreeding or over excess of inbreeding can become very detrimental to whatever breed or whatever it is that you're doing. But at the same time, over outcrossing can do the very same thing, just in the opposite direction. What I mean by that is, if you were to outcross outside of your breed, you're going to water down that breed type to whatever that outside breed that you're breeding to. Sometimes in a newer breed, like the American Bully, for example, because it's a composite breed and it's got a little bit of so many, if you do an outcross, say, to a dog that lacks the breed type, you're going to get the same effect where you're going to water down the breed type. Okay. Is that necessary? Sometimes it is necessary to outcross, because if you constantly inbreed, what's going to end up happening is the size of your litters are going to become smaller. Your dogs are going to become smaller. I'm talking about not inbreeding one time and then outcrossing. I'm talking about inbreeding followed up by either line breeding or inbreeding again. If you do it too many times, that's where you start getting these morphism, right? Things start to warp and morph into different things. And that's mostly due because now you're making most of the pairs inside of that dog homozygotic or identical. And what happens is when you do that, you have no diversity. Okay. So say, for example, you have a disease process, and that disease process needs both identical pairs to show itself. Well, look what you just did. You just paired them up. Not only is the disease process showing itself, it is now multiplying itself exponentially, right? Let me go here real quick to comments. Okay, Zulema, you received it. Number love. Miss Iris Hernandez, all the way from Miami, Florida. What about pet eye protection during the eclipse? Iris, honestly, if you live within the area where that solar eclipse is going to be hitting, personally, I try to keep my dogs inside, but honestly, I think dogs are not going to be as curious as maybe humans are to watch the solar eclipse. Just keeping it real out there. What's popping? QBN Drippy, number love, man. Hollywood, I got that drip. Y'all fill the box up with a lot of stuff, bro. Thanks, number love, man. Sally Ann's, yeah, be safe. Prayers travel with you. You got it. So here's the deal, guys. If you're lacking breed type, and say you have dogs that are carriers on both sides, what are we talking about carriers? All right. So say, for example, the short muzzle gene, right? If you have a full-blown short muzzle gene, you're going to have a homozygotic pair. If you have a short muzzle gene carrier, you're going to have one short muzzle gene and the other one is a non-short muzzle gene. And a complete non-short muzzle gene pair is you just don't have it anywhere. What I'm trying to get at is you cannot inbreed two dogs that don't have a short muzzle gene pair and expect all of a sudden for that short muzzle gene to appear. It's just not going to work that way. Okay. But if you have a carrier, you have a short muzzle gene carrier, and you bring another short muzzle gene carrier. Okay. Whenever you have two carriers coming together, you're going to run a 25% chance of getting full-blown short muzzle gene. You have a 50% chance or probability of having short muzzle gene carriers, and you have another 25% chance of having none short muzzle gene whatsoever across the board. Okay, these are the numbers going in. Are they going to be identical to that? They rarely are. You're either going to get more of one thing or less of another, but going in, that's what the projections are, right? So if you were to want to, say, create more of a breed type of a dog, and you have two short muzzle gene carriers, okay, and you are to pair them, in other words, you inbreed them. It could be, by the way, inbreeding, the definition of inbreeding could be a father to daughter, could be a mother to son, and it can also be siblings, okay, brothers and sisters. Now, brothers and sisters, theoretically, in a litter, what you normally have as far as closeness or relatedness is actually the equivalent to human cousins for the majority of the litter. Okay, so you know, if you look at human beings and you have a brother and a sister, typically a brother and a sister could carry up to maybe 25%, okay, of identical genes, because you got to keep in mind, even though you have the same two parents, there's something called recombination, right? And nobody has control over that. Okay, so in human beings, if I have, say, a brother, me and him may be sharing, we have the same parents, we may be sharing up to 25% of the genes that we're carrying from the gene pool, if that makes any sense. When it comes to dogs, however, keep in mind they have more combinations than we do. Why is that? Because they have more chromosomes, almost twice as much chromosomes as we have. Therefore, it is a lot harder to get that 25% of the same genes that you will get as humans with dogs, because you're dealing with almost twice as many combinations. Now, there's a phenomenon that happens, and that is that within a litter, you're going to get sets of twins. Okay, so I'm going to use just a simple number. We're going to go to a 10 pup litter, right? Out of a 10 pup litter, it is possible that you may have a pair. I don't want to say a pair. You may have up to 2 or even 3 sets of twins within that litter, meaning 4 to 6 puppies. And within those 4 and 6 puppies, they're paired by 2s most of the time. There has been occasions where I've seen triplets, which is 3 dogs that look very similar, okay? However, they differ from the rest of the litter. And I'm not just talking about color, even though color does play a role. I'm not just talking about color. I'm talking about, the muzzle, the structure, the bone. Sometimes you could even see them and you're like, man, this male is almost a twin of this female, and they look like nothing else like the rest of the litter, right? So the reason I'm bringing that up is because typically when you inbreed, say, a father to a daughter or a mother to a son, okay, what you're doing in essence is you are nullifying that other parent's genes. Not nullifying it, but you're watering it down. Okay. When a mother and a father get together, they're bringing 50% of the genes, right? 50-50. However, when you inbreed, say, son to mother, this 50%, right, is now being pushed away. And because of recombination, you can end up with a very high percentage of just the mother's genes, right, going into that pup. Theoretically, 75%, But that's almost unrealistic to be able to get all that. You almost got to win the lottery to max it out. So even if you're getting 60 to 65% of the mother's genes, that's, in the genetic world, that's very much, that's a very high number. However, in some instances, you may want to do that. Say if the father has a pathology, an illness, a disease, that your dog is a carrier of, okay, and it was brought in by the father. You feel that the mother structure is what you want to hone in on. She's got the traits that you want, for example. Then it's a great idea to go ahead and breed the son with the mother in order to eliminate, okay, that junk genetic that you're getting from the dad. Okay, that's the best way to go about doing that. However, there are going to be some occasions that rather than you wanting to eliminate the father or eliminate the mother, you may want to hone in on what they both are bringing. Okay, and that type of inbreeding is it's a bit touchy, because we're talking about sibling inbreeding. We're talking about a brother and a sister inbreeding. And I'm not talking about that one brother that doesn't look anything like his sister within that litter, because they're more like cousins as far as relation is concerned. I'm talking about the twin brother sister that I was just relating to. They are the ones that are bringing the genetic code from both mom and dad that represent as close to, not identical, but as close to each other as possible. Okay, now that's going to bring possibly more of what mom and dad are bringing, but in addition, it's going to multiply the homozygotic pairs, right? And give you more of an exponential exaggeration. Now, hear me out. It gives you an exponential exaggeration. So let's just use an example to try to express this. So let's say you was to measure dad's chest, right? And let's, just for the sake of argument, let's say it's 12 inches across. We're just throwing a number out there. And mom's is 10 inches across as well. You inbreed those two, you inbreed that brother-sister pair. It wouldn't be out of the question if all of a sudden you're now producing dogs whose chest, rather than being 12 inches at dad's max and mom's 10 for females, all of a sudden it goes up to 14 or even 15 on the male side and goes up to 12 on the female side, because you have now exponentially pushed this across. Now, with that being, now that's the positive that us breeders are looking for, because we're trying to get that phenotype that's going to give us that more muscle or even more space within the chest, so on and so forth. Just keep in mind that the same holds true for anything that is negative. Okay, so I've spoken in the past about something as simple as, say, a kink tail, which is created in the mesoderm, right? So if you're not careful and you're not genetically testing your dogs, and you have a dog that came from a litter that had other pups that had a kink tail, for example, and you decide to grab a brother sister from there and you breed it, all right, you may be seeing pups walking around with either a super kink tail or no tail at all. I mean, I'm exaggerating to that extent, but a shortened tail or a dog tail or something to that extent. So this is the reasoning why you have to be very careful before you step in that direction and decide to inbreed. You must do your genetic testing. You need to make sure that the traits that you're looking for are there. If one of the two pups, say, has a high rear and the other one doesn't, I would highly recommend to stay away from that, because the one pup that's not showing high rear, for example, may have some sort of genetic propensity, may be a carrier, and you're breeding it to the female that is not a carrier. She's full blown. high rear for whatever reason. It could be a long elongated femur. It could be lack of angulation on the stifle, whatever. All of a sudden you pair them together. Now you have dogs walking around on stilts that you're going to eventually just going to have to put down. You see what I mean? So this is the reasoning behind inbreeding, different types of inbreeding. Like I said, there's a father to daughter, and mother to son. And again, that's eliminating the other parent when you're doing that. But if you're trying to bring in both parents and you're trying to exponentially exaggerate, then you would do a sibling, brother and sister. And it would more than likely have to be those twins that I'm talking about within the litter. So if you don't have twins within a litter, if you are to pair them, are they going to give you something similar? They are. But here's the deal. I don't recommend for anybody to inbreed any more than, say, once per possibly every 4 generations. So if you're going to do it, my recommendation is to do it right, rather than doing it, not getting the results you want, and then trying to move forward with it. It would definitely backfire on you. Jeremiah, does that work the same way with bone breeding, light bone to thicker bone? Jeremiah, here you go, man. So light bone is a dominant trait. In order for you to get thick bone or to get a big thick head on a dog, a big head on a dog, those are actually recessive traits, meaning that in order for them to express, you're going to need both pairs to show. This is why when you inbreed, you get more of that. You're going to get more of a bigger head with the crest, because that's a recessive gene. So if you have 2 carriers and you pair them together, okay, that's where you're going to get it. The same goes with light bone. You have a dog with light bone, you're going to notice majority of the pups, if not all, are going to come out with light bone, even though they may be heavy bone carriers, okay, because light bone is dominant. I always tell people, look at the wolf. Whatever you see on the wolf, more likely than not, is going to be dominant. Why is it? Because they've been evolving for millions of years. This is where our domesticated dog came from. And out in the wild, the reason wolves don't have these big crested heads and the reason they don't have these big chests like American bullies do is because in the wild, the wolf has to be agile, has to be fast. Also, its food source is not meant to sustain a big old head and big old chest. I mean, make no mistake about it, the domesticated dog is nothing more than a designer dog. Man has put his hands on it and created it, right? You grab an American bully, find the biggest American bully out there, biggest chest, biggest head, and go ahead and drop him off in the middle of the forest. I give that dog maybe about 10 days to live, if we're lucky. If we're lucky, it can't hunt. It's not fast enough to hunt. Probably doesn't know how to hunt. It better be near a water source. Otherwise, that 10-day I'm giving you, you need to shorten that down. You see what I'm saying? So the reason, these dogs that we've designed are able to sustain those big body and the muscles and all that is because we're feeding food. They don't have to go hunt for anything and that sort of thing. Let me see. My girl has a short muzzle gene. Good deal. Good deal. I hope you're doing great. Much love. Okay, Shamrock came from Lucky to his daughter. Yes, Lucky Luciano. You got it, bro. My first female's from a father-daughter breeding, so I'll cross on all her breedings to start. And that's precisely it. Once you do an inbreeding and you get a lot of these pairs, you need to outcross so you can get more of these pairs. More of these pairs, there's something called hybrid vigor. Okay, so when you outcross, you're going to create something that's called hybrid vigor. And what that is in breeder terminology is you're letting the blood breathe. You're opening up the combination box, if you will, because now from a limited combination of it's either going to be this one or this one, and they're both the same. You now have, it could be this or it could be this, where they're different. So you're also, believe it or not, you're also switching off a lot of disease processes. Some disease processes require this, right? A homozygotic pair, which is an identical pair. But the minute you go to a heterozygotic pair or a pair that's not identical, you've now done the off switch. You've now turned that off. And believe it or not, you could have a dog that's a carrier of a pathology, and he could breed with another dog that isn't a carrier, and you will never see that disease process. But that's why it's so important that you do genetic testing and you are aware if your dog is carrying a particular illness or not. Because if you're not aware and you take a carrier to another carrier, that's where you start running an issue of creating a situation where 25% of the litter is gonna come with that homozygotic pair. And basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn that off switch back to on to 25% of those puppies. Okay. And that's just, like I said, that's just a probability. Tip of gratitude, 78 views, 25 likes, free to support. Click that like button. Guys, give me some likes, man. If we only got 25 likes, we got we have 105 viewers. I mean, give me some love, man. Let me go in here. Let me see. Isn't it worse to breed brother and sister in the sense creating complications for puppies, even though they're both clear and healthy? Sock'em Ray, that's an excellent question, man. Here's the part that nobody wants to talk about. Here's the part that nobody wants to hear. Here's the part where, you know, people get concerned. And here's the deal, man. Breeding, part of breeding is culling puppies, okay, that do not have traits or attributes that you wish to produce. Okay. Now I know in the world that we're living today, when you say culling a pup, you know, we're appalled by it. Why would you put a puppy down because it doesn't have a particular trait or whatnot? Well, here's the thing, guys. I mean, I'm just keeping it real with you. Inbreeding is part of breeding. Outcrossing is part of breeding, and so is line breeding. Any dog that is purebred is a designer dog. It has been designed by man to either do a function, look a particular way, whatever. In order for you to be able to, because in reality, what we're doing is manipulating genes. That's really what you're doing as a breeder. You're either bringing in tighter, okay, to get more phenotype, more breed type, excuse me, and then once you do that, you open it up, okay, in order to bring in more health, more hybrid vigor, possibly even more combinations, okay, within that line. And then you can also line breed, which is another form. It is a very much lighter form than inbreeding. And usually once you get the traits that you want, and that's when you line breed, just to keep everything in line. But even then, after about 2 generations of line breeding, you need to open it up again and you need to outcross. Let me see here. Let's see, tip of gratitude, grandfather to granddaughter, then her granddaughter to granddaughter, one father, then outcross to a dog that complements your direction or a dream dog. You can, if you want to go line breeding, and what he's talking about is line breeding. Line breeding is when you're breeding, say, for example, a grandfather to a granddaughter, when you're breeding cousins, even when you're breeding uncles to nieces. That's line breeding. You're going to notice that the COI, or the coefficient of inbreeding, is going to slightly be increasing. Not as fast as, of course, if you were inbreeding, right? But what ends up happening is, say you have 2 dogs whose COI is a 12, just an example, and it's an uncle and a niece breeding. You're going to notice that more likely than not, you're going to have now COIs of anywhere between 18 to possibly 24 at the highest. And then let's say you line breed that, and you do another uncle to niece breeding, right? From that offspring, you're now going to possibly be hitting 30 as far as COI is concerned. So basically, you're kind of inbreeding, but in a lighter sense, a lot lighter sense. It's going to take you longer. Whereas if you would have inbred from the get with those 212s, more likely than not, you're going to be hitting around 34, 36, maybe even 38 in just one generation. So those are the different. Detailer says, I know we don't do the wheel on Thursday. What do we have available today? Well, let me tell you, man, you're in luck. We do have the wheel. So let me bring it up here. Let's see. Here it is. All right. So let's go ahead and bring the wheel, man. And since you brought it up, Detailer, you always bring it up and you're always getting a free spin, but I'm going to give you a free spin nonetheless. So here we go. Detailer, number love for you, man. Wishing you the best on this spin. Here we go. Whoa, man, you got close to 50% of that stud fee. We got 50% stud fee on Congo, on Fireball. We got Nuvet. We have hat and beanie. We got wristbands. You name it, man. That was a good spin. Thank you for bringing it up, brother. Appreciate it. Let's see. Send over your super chat or sticker. There you go. Cold doesn't necessarily mean kill. You can pet, home, and spade. Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. Tip of gratitude. But I will say this. If you are inbreeding, and if you're inbreeding brother and sister, there's a possibility that you're going to want a colt. I'm just keeping it real with you, man. You're dealing with genetics, and you're dealing with close, to two animals that are close to each other genetically. Like I said, when those homozygotic pairs match up, they're going to multiply exponentially. And there may be some things that you see there that you may not want. Say, for example, one of the things that you can be dealing with whenever you inbreed is you could either have a very timid dog or a very aggressive dog. And that's not something that you just want to spay or neuter. If you have a very timid dog, that could be a dangerous situation. If you have a very aggressive dog, that could be a dangerous situation. So it's just better to cull from the very beginning if that's the scenario that you're saying. Is an inbreeding or line breeding necessary for consistent looks such as Rottweiler, German Shepherd, and other breeds? Black bottom bullies, it is. It is. I have dissuaded the community from inbreeding in the past because, 6-7 years ago, genetic testing was not as available, if you will, as it is now. And so you had people inbreeding dogs that had some sort of renal issue or neuro issue. You do that and you're just creating monsters or really bad situations. Whereas now you're able to go all clear to all clear. That's not to say that something cannot pop up, okay? Because like I said, those homozygotic pairs are going to multiply exponentially, right? But I feel that if there was ever a time that we could actually do this, if need be, it would probably be now because of the accessibility. All right, send over your super chat and I'll get Raul to pull the wheel up. You got it, man. We got D. Taylor saying he wants to spin, man. So let's go ahead and give him another spin. All right, D. Taylor, here we go, man. Real quick. Booyah. Let's see what you got. Oh, okay. Stop. Beanie, hat beanie. All right, man. D. Taylor. There you go, D. Taylor. Number love. You got yourself a hat and beanie. Do me a favor. You already know the drill. I know you won before. Get together with Hollywood Holland. Download QBN app. Go to Holland Custom Designs. Send him your information. We'll get that hat and beanie shipped out tomorrow for you. Tips of gratitude facts. So you can really bring out a train wreck, and many of these breeders are breeding these train wrecks. Yes, this is why I'm trying to get it out there. Kind of like what rules to follow before you do an inbreeding. By the way, we got Drippy Smooth saying no free spin for my birthday. Drippy, man, look at that, bro. Drippy claiming his spin, man. He's claiming his spin. So let's get you a spin, Drippy. Now, Drippy, I hope to God next week you don't show up with another birthday wish. All right. Some of y'all have 6-7 birthdays in a year. I'm just messing with you, man. Here we go. There we go, Drippy. Oh, there it is. Stop. Jeez, man. All right, Drippy. You can't say you didn't get a free spin, man. Bama Elite says, hey, man, I don't want to be left out. So let's go ahead and give Bama Elite, let's spin that wheel. All right, here we go. Trayvon Mobley, here we go, man. Oh, spin again. Spin it loose. No, man. The wheel is given and the wheel is taken. I'll tell you that, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. I have my own Makey movie dog. Her name's Liberty. All right, man. Good deal. Feeling lucky. Yeah, man. Not so much. Unfortunately today, man, that wheel was kind of tough on you, man. Let's see here, man. Outbreeding is favorable, correct? It can be. Again, you don't want to over outbreed, right? Or outcross, better yet. Because if you outcross and you outcross again, and then all of a sudden everything you had in line as far as the breed type you were getting can dwindle. You see what I'm saying? So if you're truly breeding and you're trying to breed, say, to a particular standard, a tool such as line breeding, inbreeding, and outcrossing, they could all be useful. You just need to know when and how to use them. I always suggest that immediately after you inbreed, you outcross. You don't want to tighten that blood up too much. You get too many of these homozygotic pairs, that's how you get to too much of an exaggeration, and you can run into trouble. Detailer says, I'll pay it forward if possible. I got a few of them. Me and the kids have them on right now. Is it possible to pay it forward to best question? All right, Detailer, tell you what, man, I just saw the comment. So if I see the best question of the day, I'm going to go ahead and give him a free spin, courtesy of Detailer. All right, number love. J Tree, I can't wait to spin that wheel. I'm going to win FSF stud on that wheel. You got it. Family says too much either way can be bad. You have to pay attention to your breedings. Yes, you have to pay attention to your breedings. You have to pay attention to the the coefficient of inbreeding. I suggest that you do embark testing or genetic testing for both parents. Make sure they're clear. Then on the pups, the entire litter, I would recommend you embark test again. Make sure nothing got exaggerative, nothing came out of nowhere that you weren't seeing. And then in addition to that, you must do temperament testing more than anything, because you may not see any type of issue physically, but like I said, too timid of a dog or too aggressive is not a good combination. You may have to cull the pup. You may have to do a cold cull, which they had alluded to earlier, which, say, for example, you have a puppy that's born, I'm trying to come up with some sort of flaw or something that you just really don't want to reproduce. Then you could actually pet home that puppy, make sure it's spayed and neutered. But typically, I prefer to cull. And the reason I prefer to just full cull is because I don't recommend spaying or neutering until the dog is at least 18 months old. They need their hormones to develop, whether it's a male or a female. If you go ahead and spay and neuter way before that, you may have developmental issues going forward. I'm talking about in their body. I'm not talking about like mentally. That's not necessarily going to change, but what may change is you may have a dog has an obesity propensity. You may have a dog that never matures. That sort of issue, and that has to do with the lack of hormones. Black Bottom says, do you think people should be certified in order to run a breeding program to wash out the backyard breeders? This question has been asked in the past. I've said yay and nay at the same time. And the reason I say yay and nay at the same time is because it sounds like something good when you say it this way. The problem lies when you put anything in the government's hands, okay? Keep in mind, the government doesn't have to pay taxes. They receive taxes. They're going to receive fees. The government doesn't have oversight. So if the government decides, like over there in the UK, we're not going to ban this breed, you have no say so, and you just handed over your keys and everything to the government. So unless the government, if there's some sort of way to create oversight, I would never want to put all of my eggs in their basket, because they can start making decisions that are detrimental to the breed and detrimental to everything. Think about it. Over there in the UK, they just banned the American Bully. Rather than fixing the problem at hand, I feel they made a move in order to also discriminate a particular culture that comes along with the American Bully. And they went over there, they protested and everything. At the end of the day, they got banned regardless. Do you really want to trust on a government that's going to be able to make those decisions? At least for me, that's a no-go. Real quick, we got Inserata saying she wants to spin. So Inserata, let me go ahead and bring the wheel up. There we go. All right, Inserata, here's your spin. Thank you for spinning. Here we go. Okay. There's a chance. Oh, man, we got close, Inserata. We got close. You almost got that 50% on the stud feed. That was close. Can two pups be born in the same sack like identical twins? Man, that's a very good question, man. I don't believe so, man, but I could be wrong. I don't believe that can be. Beth B says weak temperament dogs shouldn't be bred, shy, nervous, aggressive, etc. I agree. This is what leads to possible attacks. Miss Beth says keep government out of breeding and our lives. I couldn't agree with you more, Beth. Could not agree with you anymore. Incognito Kennels, do people do inbreeding son to mom? I know dad to daughter is common. Yes, and there's theories behind why you don't want to do son to mom or dad to daughter. As far as I'm concerned, if you're inbreeding, I mean, there is no. It's almost like pregnancy, right? You can't be a little pregnant, right? In my opinion, if you're going to do inbreeding, I feel like you better dot your I's and cross your T's and do it in that one generation, and then have a plan as to what's going to follow. For example, inbreed, then outcross, then line breed, then outcross, and then that next generation again. If you have to inbreed, go ahead. I'm just saying. V Bully says, what's good, my bully family? I'm late, but I was making my bulls frozen homemade treats, so was for a good cause, man. Raul deserves it. All right, talking about shares and likes. Does inbreeding cause ataxia? I want to say it can. And not only that, if you breed a dog with ataxia, if you inbreed a dog with ataxia, you could literally multiply that, because if one of the parents is a carrier and you have a pup that's got full-blown ataxia, half the litter, at least going into it, is going to be projected as having full-blown ataxia. Do you really want to do that? Right? This is why I keep saying you need to genetically test, make sure both parents are clear, and then even then you need to genetically test the entire litter, make sure they're clear. Okay, and then you're going to start making decisions based on breed type and structure from that point, right? Let me take that back. Before you make decisions on breed type and structure, then you got to do temperamental testing, okay? Because you don't need a shy dog. You don't need a dog that's super nervous or aggressive. If you see those traits, I strongly suggest you put them down. All right? But regardless whether you're inbreeding or not, I strongly suggest you use Nuvet and New Joint Plus. We use it because Nuvet is a multivitamin, and New Joint, which is New Joint DS, double strength, is for joint support. You can't buy this stuff in stores. You need an ordering code. 513237 is ours. And if you're able to order both and you also do auto ship, you get an additional 13% off. All right. Let me see what else we got over here, man. What you guys writing? All right. So yeah, Inbreeding is just a tool, guys. You may not need it. Somebody had commented that they had bought a female off of an inbreeding, and all they have done ever since they had her was outcross her, which is fine for her. Next generation, it should be outcrossed, in my opinion. This way, you have more heterozygotic pairs, or pairs that are not identical. That's how you get that hybrid vigor. Miss Beth B says there should be an unwritten rule that breeders shouldn't inbreed for the first 10 years of breeding. That's a very good rule. I would say 4 generations. So in reality, we're looking more at 8 years than 10. But yeah, 4 generations. Like, think about it. In 4 generations, you could actually line breed, then you can outcross, and then you can line breed again if you needed to at that point, and then make a decision as to whether you needed to inbreed or not. Goliath, so if I decide to never inbreed in my program, is that bad? No. If the way you would go around that, if you don't want to inbreed, is you would line breed. So you would say you would use grandfather with granddaughter. You can use cousins. You can use uncle to niece or auntie to nephew. Okay, and that would be considered line breeding. What I normally say is koi of 27 for our breed. Above that, I consider that to be high at this point. With time, that number is going to climb. Okay, but right now, I want to say if you have a koi of 29 in our breed, that's considered high. That's responsible. Yes, I agree, Miss Beth. But to create a bloodline, don't you need to inbreed, or can you create a bloodline with line breeding? And tip of gratitude, I want to say you need to inbreed. But again, it's going to be an ethical choice from the breeder, whether they want to inbreed or line breed. If you line breed enough, you're going to get close enough, right, to what you want. Like I said, if you line breed in 2 generations, your kois are going to jump into the 30s. Whereas if you inbreed right off the get, you're going to get kois anywhere between mid 30s to higher 30s. So it all depends how you want to get to that point. Just keep in mind, guys, that you never inbreed back to back. So if you inbreed, right, you inbreed dog A and B, and you get puppy C. You don't inbreed again puppy C. You don't do that. If you were to do that, okay, I'm gonna let you know already, because it's already been done. The dog size is going to become smaller. The litter sizes are going to become smaller. The dogs are going to become more susceptible to illnesses. They won't be able to fight off viruses easily, that sort of thing. Think about it. If you go to the Mastiffs, right? In Roman times, they started inbreeding the living daylights out of Mastiffs just to see what they would get. And it is thought of that that's how you're able to get all the way down to a pug. Think about the size difference between a pug all the way up to a Mastiff, right? But you keep inbreeding it. Look at the differences. First of all, muzzle, right? The dog now becomes brachiocephalic. Also, it loses its tail for the most part. Size shrivels up completely. Also, temperament-wise, you can't compare a Mastiff to a pup. Even though it may have come from the same line, the fact that you kept inbreeding it, that's how you start creating, something that is morphed into something that's totally different from what you originally had. All right. So I don't want you to think that inbreeding is bad, guys, because it's not bad. And in certain instances, I would even dare to say that it's necessary. But what is unnecessary is for you to jump into breeding and already think you need to inbreed from the very beginning. You're not genetically testing. You don't understand anything about coefficient of inbreeding. You don't understand recessive or dominant traits. If you can't check off those boxes, I wouldn't recommend for you to go that route. Everybody doesn't need to create a bloodline. This is also true. That is not necessarily true for everyone. Adam Fields, talk about how koi plays a role in choosing to inbreed. Yes, Okay, so koi is. Let me see if I can bring up. Don't have it up right now. Let me see if I can bring up. Tell you what, I'll just explain it. So koi is the coefficient of inbreeding. So what they do is they you swab your dogs inside your dog's gum. When you get your kit from Embark, and you put it in the little bottle they got, and you send it in. So what they're going to do is they're going to grab that and they're going to run it through these machines that are going to give a determination as to where within each chromosome the dog's genetic code lies, right? Then they're going to be analyzing particular pairs to see how many are heterozygotic, or better yet, homozygotic, meaning identical. The more identical pairs you have, the higher the percentage of the COI or koi you're going to get. It's going to tell you how inbred your dog is. Some breeds that have been around longer than the American Bully, for example, the English Bulldog, their starting koi is somewhere around high 30s to low 40s. You could be looking at a koi of 41 on an English Bulldog, and that's pretty much normal. However, there are a lot of issues within that breed. In fact, they feel that breed has been so inbred that you cannot save the breed health-wise without outcrossing to an outside breed altogether. Because, like I said, their threshold of koi starts like at 39, 40, 41. So at that point, how do you water that down? You can't, because the entire population of that breed, their koi is already at that point. It's because of the amount of inbreedings throughout time and how long that breed has been around. Whereas with the American Bully is more of a composite breed. So, for example, our average kois are, in my opinion, between 12 and 18, 18 being the higher average and 12 being on the lower end. Now, if you were to outcross, say, with the American Bully, you're going to notice that your kois are going to go down to single digits, right? Rather than keeping double digits. Whereas with the English Bulldog, if you were to outcross, it wouldn't surprise me if you still have a koi of somewhere in the 20s because that blood is just that tight because of all the inbreeding over time. What about half siblings, half dad, different moms? There you're playing kind of like Russian roulette, because wherever, say, the half siblings, let's say they're the same dad, right? Whenever the dad genes come into effect, they're going to go ahead and become homozygotic and express themselves exponentially. But you're also got another half, which is the mother's genes, which will make things heterozygotic. So in some instances, you're going to get some pups that are going to be considered inbred. And in some instances, you're going to get some pups that are going to be considered line bred. All depends on the recombination. And nobody has control over recombination, guys. There you go. Okay. So yeah, guys, I just don't want you to see inbreeding as just exclusively a bad thing. It can be a good thing for a breed or a breeder if you know what you're doing, if you're trying to get the breed type, if you water down your blood. Say, for example, let me give you an example of when inbreeding is a good thing. So let's say you've been line breeding, and for some reason, something like ataxia has come up in your line, and it's now prominent across your line. So what you're probably going to do is you're going to outcross, right? Because ataxia, you have homozygotic pairs, right? So you want to outcross, so you now have heterozygotic pairs, so that illness doesn't show, okay? There's going to be some instances where if, say, you have a dog that is an ataxia carrier, right, and you breed it to a non-ataxia carrier, you're now only going to have 25% of the dogs that are going to actually be ataxia carriers. The rest are not. Once you get to that point, and you got this, you're going to notice that in order to get rid of ataxia, you've had to lose some breed type. Now that you got rid of ataxia and you want to bring the breed type in, it would be a good idea to go ahead and inbreed, because that's what's going to give you more breed type. But it's not just inbreed for the sake of inbreeding. It's not just inbreeding with your eyes closed. It's doing the genetic testing on the dog that you're going to bring in from the outside, genetic testing on the dog you currently have, make sure they're all clear, go ahead and inbreed them. And then, go ahead and check all the puppies out as far as genetically testing, and also do a temperament test. Going into it knowing that there's a possibility you may need to cull a pup or two, or however many need to be culled, depending on the type of temperament that you're getting in return. Like I told you earlier, too much of a shy dog or too much of an aggressive dog or nervous dog is not a good thing. Okay, but if you have a couple of pups that say have certain traits you don't want, there's nothing wrong with a cold cull, right? Which means you're going to sell them as pet quality and pay spay or neuter. But I wouldn't recommend doing that if there is a temperamental issue. If there's anything temperamental going on, my recommendation is put them down. Okay, but that would be an example as to where inbreeding would be good for a particular line, or if you're trying to, or for a yard in general, if you're trying to bring in breed type. Okay, and that's how you would go about it. I've seen a lot of breeders breeding father-daughters breeds lately. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that too, and I think that where that becomes a problem is when you see line breed, and then inbreed. It's like, dude, you're really tightening up the blood. Like, do you really know what you're doing? And unfortunately, a lot of times they're not genetically testing those puppies. And so, here you are, you're brand spanking new. You don't know anything about breeding. You're excited. You like the way the pup looks, the colors, whatever. You buy into that. And here you got a breeder that's not doing temperamental testing, not doing genetic testing, selling you a pup. So that's precisely what I'm trying to say, where breeding becomes a problem, right? Make sure that if you're going to buy a puppy from somebody that inbred, that all the puppies have been genetically tested and that there is a temperamental test that is done. That's just my recommendation. And Serrata, just like with King Charles Cavalier Spaniels, they have had to mandate health OFA testing due to issues in breed, but breeders are doing something positive to correct it that way. Yeah, but in Serrata, here's the thing. The breeders only are now doing something positive because they've already gotten to the bottom of the barrel and created a problem. My point is, if you're gonna be responsible enough to inbreed, you got to make sure you go into it with the mentality that if you have to cull, you will. That you will genetically test parents, genetically test pups, temperamentally test pups. That is probably the most important part of it. What is the max I should pay for a pet dog? Brian Cooper, whatever you feel. That's really up to you. You're asking for a market opinion where we don't set the market. The market is set by you, the buyer. How much are you willing to pay? That's what really sets the market. But either way, guys, listen, that's been my spiel for the day, man. I'm not going to hold you all too long. Let me bring in Hollywood and Steve-O. Hollywood, man, go ahead and actually, Steve-O, I'm going to start you out, man.
Hey, let me say something real quick. D. Taylor wanted to donate his hat and beanie because he said he has a lot of them. That's what he was asking.
Yes, and that's right. And he did say for me to find the best question of the day. I think the best question, here's the problem. I feel like the best question came in from a non-member. So tell you what, this is what we're going to do. Let's see. I feel this was the greatest question of the day, man. Tip of gratitude. Tell you what, man, I'm going to give you till Thursday to become a member. For as little as $5, you can become a member. We have the link down below. If you're a member by Thursday, Hollywood, I just need you to write down their info. Then I will send you over the hat and the QBN beanie. that has been donated by D. Taylor. Just to keep it fair.
I'm dropping it in the comments as well. That way he can click on it. If you've got an iPhone, you're probably going to have to do it in Chrome, and you'll probably have to do it on a laptop.
That's it, man. Listen, Steve-O, rack them up, man.
You already know, fam. QBN Kennel, the greatest podcast platform out here, with the best knowledge coming straight at you from the Q. Catching you on the next one.
Hollywood.
Guys, don't forget, no matter what you're doing, just embark. Just do some health and genetic testing. It's really not that hard. It'll make you a way better breeder. It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy in the back at the Q, and we're catching you on the next one.
Guys, you already know, sometimes subject matters like these that people don't want to touch up on because they are touchy. But the fact of the matter is, if you're trying to do this and do it responsibly, there are boxes you must check. Just as much as you got to do it on the breeder side, if you're a buyer, if you're somebody that wants to buy a pup that has been inbred, make sure that they've done genetic testing on the parents, on the pup, and temperamental testing. It's been Raw from the Q. Catching you on the next one.